built a number of raised beds over the years, but so far this design is my favorite. The sides are 2x10s and the top is capped off with a 2x4 shelf, which not only helps keep the 2x10s from bowing out from the weight of the soil, but also makes a great place to sit when working in the garden. I also like that this design doesn't use any posts. In my experience, posts can be a weak link. Because they're buried in the ground, they're more vulnerable to rot and can be the first thing to fail in a raised bed. This bed sits on top of the ground, which minimizes the amount of contact with the soil and therefore reduces rot. The fewer surfaces in contact with the soil, the better. Also, I like that it's made from building lumber instead of fence boards. The 2x10s are much stronger and will last longer than fence boards, and they don't require posts. Though the bed would last even longer if made from cedar lumber, I find that beds made from untreated Douglas fir last a good number of years. For example, this bed is 5 years old and will be around for many more. Finally, this 8x2 bed cost only $38.83, including all of the lumber and deck screws. And that's a pretty good price for a frugal gardener like me. So today I thought I'd briefly take you through the process of how I built this raised bed. Though I prefer a width of 4 feet for most garden beds, this bed was made for a special purpose and only needed to be 2 feet wide. The sides were made from two 10-foot 2x10s. Both boards were cut at the 8-foot mark, leaving two 8-foot sections and two 2-foot sections. The shelf was made with two 10-foot 2x4s, which were also cut at the 8-foot mark. To make the basic box, I first pre-drilled and countersunk 3 holes at the ends of the long 2x10s to avoid splitting when driving the screws. I then connected the long boards to the short boards, as shown here, using 2.5-inch deck screws. I then cut 4 pieces of scrap 2x3s to the depth of the bed, pre-drilled 3 holes in each piece, and attached them to the inside corners of the bed, as shown here. Then to attach the 2x10s on the ends of the bed to the 2x3s, I pre-drilled and countersunk holes as shown here and drove deck screws into the 2x3s. With the basic box built, it was time to attach the 2x4 shelf. To provide extra support for the shelf, I gathered a number of pieces of scrap wood and attached them to the inside of the box, flush with the top as shown here. I then laid the 8-foot 2x4s in position and pre-drilled and countersunk holes every foot or so and drove deck screws into the sideboards and the scrap supports. Because the boards weren't perfectly straight, I had to slightly bend the 2x4s so they'd be flush with the 2x10s. I didn't drive screws into the end boards because I still needed to square the bed, and doing so would have locked the bed into place. A square bed has equal diagonals, so I took diagonal measurements and found that the bed was already square. Then I drove screws through the shelf into the end boards, which locked the bed into place. Next, I took the 2 remaining shelf boards and marked where they'd have to be cut to fit in place. I cut them, pre-drilled and countersunk holes, and attached them to the bed with deck screws. With the bed completely built, I put it in place, ensuring a parallel 18-inch walking path between it and the neighboring bed. I leveled the bed by propping it up with wood chips where needed. Once level, I sheet mulched the bottom of the bed with cardboard and filled it with peat and homemade compost. In my next video, I'll share what we planted in the new bed. It's a perennial we tried growing years ago, but without much success. Now that we're a little older and hopefully wiser, I think we'll have much more success this time. Well, that's all for now. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, remember, you can change the world 1 yard at a time.